are live. What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Andrew Michael, and welcome back to Friday Bible Study, episode 110. Today, we are going to be talking about why you should not chase the world or the desires in it. So today, on this episode of Friday Bible Study, we are going to talk about why chasing the world will always leave you unsatisfied. And this also deals with chasing money, chasing a relationship, whether it's being with a girl or a guy, whether it's chasing a job you want, whether it's chasing fame on social media, whether it's chasing attention. All of this will leave you unsatisfied because you're always trying to quench a thirst that only Jesus is going to be able to quench, because at the end of the day, the world can promise you all of these things, but only Jesus will be able to fulfill that void in your life. And immediately, I already can hear, I can already hear people say, oh, well, how do you know that Jesus will satisfy me? How do you know that Jesus is going to satisfy my desires? And that's the thing. You have your desires because most of your desires are from the world. You think that your desires from the world have higher precedent over what Jesus can and has already done for you, which is give you eternal life. Because guess what? We're not going to live in this world forever. Yes, I know, shocking. But guess what? Because we're not going to live on this earth forever, the choices that you make, and this is going to get to a point later on, the choices you make in chasing something of this world versus following God, those are going to help determine where you're going in the afterlife. Because a lot of people believe that, once you're saved and once you're giving your life to Christ, you can live however, you can chase the world after. No, because you are chasing the world while also trying to ride the fence of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't do that. Because once you accept Jesus as Savior and Lord, one part about doing that is you're surrendering your life to Christ and not having 1 foot in with the world, 1 foot in with Christ. You have to make a choice as to who you're going to ultimately fully submit to. Because in order for you to live a life fully for Christ, what do you think you have to do? You have to fully submit your life to Christ. You can't be holding on to the world and expect for God to be like, oh, you're fully living for God when you're only doing it halfway in, halfway out. You can't do that. God wants you to live a life fully following Him. And so with all of that being said, I want to get into the Bible, and we're going to read 4 different verses because these are all in the New Testament. And we're going to talk about why all 4 of these verses are important. And we got notes at the end where I'm going to talk about, what are the main takeaways for today. So with that being said, the first verse we're going to read is from Matthew 6. Yeah, we're going to read from Matthew 6, and we're going to go to verse 24. No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. I'll give a little bit of a testimony real quickly before we keep going. So, starting with my YouTube journey in 2016, I knew nothing about YouTube, yet I thought I did. And one of the big things is I wanted to be famous. And I wanted to chase money. I was chasing money. I was chasing fame because that was my main goal with YouTube starting off, is I wanted to be famous. Yet the content I was making, now looking back, it sucked. Like, the content I was making was trash. Nobody wanted to watch it. And yet, for some reason, I kept blaming the algorithm because I was like, oh, well, because the algorithm isn't pushing my video to everyone, that's why, because it hates me. When in the end, my content sucked. And because my content sucks, that's why no one wanted to watch my videos. And one thing I kind of want to touch on here as well is this world doesn't want to be accountable anymore. This world has gotten to a point to where not many people want to be accountable for their mistakes. And that's a problem because when you're not holding yourself accountable, you're just running roughshod on everything, and anytime something bad happens, you're quick to blame someone else for the problem that you caused. And because of that, everyone's going to turn against you, and you're going to wonder why everyone hates you. They don't hate you, but they're looking at you in a different way now because you refuse to take accountability for your own actions, when now you're pointing your finger at other things when the finger should be pointing right back at you. Why this is a problem for our Christian walk is because when you are not accountable, you are putting yourself ahead of God by saying that, oh, well, I'm perfect. I don't do anything wrong. We know that that's not true. Come on. Everyone makes mistakes, right? But that should not be an excuse to go continue to sin again and again and again. You should make an effort to change, because if you don't make an effort to change, then you're going to be left with endlessly chasing and eventually chasing the world. One thing I also see in this world is, one thing that I see is people chasing the opposite sex. So, for me, it would be, if I had a crush on a girl, but the girl didn't like me back. And yet I wonder why things didn't happen. The reason why things didn't happen is because I was chasing a girl who didn't see me the way that I saw her. And because of this, nothing would ever happen. And I would be left angry at the girl because she didn't like me, when in reality, I'm the one at fault because I was chasing something that wasn't going to happen. When in reality, I should have been putting my focus on God and letting Him guide my life instead of me putting my life in my own hands. And the reason, again, why this is bad, when you chase the world, you are ultimately letting the world be your God, because you're saying, okay, the world, let's see what the world gives me. Let's see what I can do. Because also, too, when you chase the world, you're being prideful. One of the biggest sins in the Bible is pride. The same thing that happened to Lucifer. Lucifer was the second angel in command, right behind God. And the reason why he got kicked out of heaven was because he was prideful, because he thought he was God. He thought that he ultimately knew what was going on, when in reality, he had no idea what was happening. And the same thing with us in some cases. Now, I'm not saying we're all Satan, but what I'm getting at is when you chase the world, you find yourself endlessly chasing things that are only going to temporarily satisfy you. And when you chase things that ultimately only give you temporary satisfaction, you endlessly chase this thing over and over and over and over and over again until you get to a point where you got to make a decision on what you want. Because again, the choice you make, whether you follow God or you follow the world, it is not on God. It is on you. Okay? You make a choice whether you give your life to Christ or you chase the world. You cannot do both. If you try to do both, you are going to endlessly hurt not only your faith, but you're also going to hurt your walk with God. Well, I mean, the same thing. And the reason why you hurt your walk with God is because you're not fully giving your life to Christ. You're trying to please both sides of the aisle versus sticking to one side versus the other. Next point here. Well, next point. Next verse. Verse 9. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Folks, I don't think that it's quite a mystery when we see people who are rich and that are famous. Why do you think they wind up being the most miserable people out there? Or they'll be in marriages and they fall apart. Why does that happen? Because they put money ahead of everything else. And I see this everywhere. And I even used to be this way when I was in college, when I was doing YouTube. I wanted nothing more than to be rich. Why? Just to be rich. I wasn't going to use the money for anything else. I just wanted to say, hey, I'm rich. When in reality, you can't do this. You cannot chase money, because if you do that and you get greedy, you will wind up falling into nothing but pure destruction. Because when you are greedy, you care about nothing else than getting more money, get more money, get more money, get more money, get more money. And you don't care how you get there. And what winds up happening is with greed, you wind up doing nothing but not only confusing yourself and hurting the people around you, because you chose to chase money instead of saying, you know what, money's cool and all, but it's not going to give me eternal satisfaction, unlike what God did through Jesus, who did give us eternal salvation. And as it says in Matthew 6, the treasure on earth is going to be destroyed by fire. It is going to be destroyed. But your treasure in heaven, when you fully give your life to Christ, lasts in eternity. Why? Because your eternity in heaven, it's an eternity. Whereas in the world, you're only here for a limited amount of time. Another reason why you shouldn't chase money is also, too, when you chase money, you're never satisfied with how much money you have. Like, if I have, and I'm just making this up, let's say I have $30,000 in my bank account. I don't have that much money in my bank account. But let's say if I did, even if I had that much money, part of me is like, how come I don't have $35,000? How come I don't have $40,000? How come I don't have $50,000? Right? Money will only satisfy you for a little bit until eventually you get to a point to where it's like, I want more, I want more, I want more. And again, when you are greedy, you do nothing but care about money, and you don't care about anyone else. And again, I'm not saying money's bad, but when you chase money and you put your hopes and desires in money, you're going to soon realize you're going to plunge yourself into a world of hurt if you're not careful. Third verse here. But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying its power. Have nothing to do with such people. I know I should have shared my screen. Should have done that. Sorry. Folks, it is important to understand who you surround yourself with. Because if you're not careful, the people that you call friends could easily lead you into darkness. And the reason why is because if you're a Christian, but you hang around a bunch of atheists, those people that are atheists are going to rub off on you. What they do in their spare time could rub off on you, and next thing you know, you turn into walking with the world just like them. If they're alcoholics and you're not, the more you hang around those alcoholics, there's a good chance you're going to be just right with them. If they're people that sleep around and have sex all the time, you're going to be joining with them. Why? Because the people you are around will easily influence you if you are not careful. Which is why, just like it talks about with marriage, the marriages that tend to go well are the marriages of two people that are equally yoked. People who have the same desires, people who have the same values tend to do better versus those who don't. And the reason why, and I know I've never been in a relationship and I've never been married, and I can't fully attest to this, but I can see from the outside looking in that the way the world works, if you're someone who follows God, but your partner, your relationship partner, with boyfriend or girlfriend, if they are chasing the world, that relationship's not going to last long, because you're going to try to get them to get away from the world, yet they're going to try to get you to chase the world. And that is not going to happen, because you're always going to be clashing with your morals, with your values. And folks, I hear this now, and I'm so glad I started hearing this. But no matter how pretty or handsome your boyfriend or girlfriend is, if they are leading you astray, it's tough, but you have got to cut them off. Because they're not leading you to God, they're leading you to destruction. They are leading you to a world of darkness. And folks, I hate to say it, but so many people fall into this trap where they find themselves, they're Christians, but when they see a girl that's pretty or they see a guy that's handsome, if you find out that their morals don't align with God, you got to cut it off, because you have to be equally yoked. And that is how relationships work, is you got to be equally yoked. And instead of you two chasing the world, you two need to be with God, so that way you both can grow closer, not only to God, but you go closer to one another. Last point here. Not last point. I keep saying point. Last verse here. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? This is a classic verse from Matthew 16. What profit is it for a man to try to gain the whole world yet lose their soul in the process? Why do you think that verse is so popular? Because you see it time and time again. People will chase the world. They will chase the desires of this world, yet they will even give up their soul to chase it, when in reality, they were better off not ever accepting that deal. And the reason why they shouldn't have accepted that deal is because the world will lie to you and tell you that money is all you need, that a marriage is all you need, that a woman in your life, that a girl is all you need in your life, or vice versa, a guy is all you need in your life. Or that car you've been wanting, that's all you will ever need. Nope. That is not going to get you anywhere, because at the end of the day, all those things that I mentioned are only temporary satisfaction. And I can say it over and over again. The only thing that will ever give you eternal satisfaction is Jesus. Because Jesus died for you and I to have eternal salvation. And all those things that I listed are nothing but lies from the world. And the reason why they're lies is because, again, it's worldly. What you chase in this world, I mean nothing. It doesn't mean nothing in the end. Because again, we're all going to die one day. We're not all going to live forever. It's not happening. So with that, I want to get into some notes. I have 4 notes here. So if you skipped all the way to this part of the Bible study and you want to hear the notes, here's what we're going to do. Point 1. Chasing the world will leave you only wanting more, because nothing in this world will satisfy you fully. I've hammered on this point quite a bit. There are things of this world that are going to do everything they can to convince you that chasing it is better than chasing God. And that is a blatant lie. Everything of this world is going to convince you that if you drop everything to chase the world, you're going to be great. I have seen famous people after famous people end themselves because they thought that the world was going to give them everything. They thought that a girl was going to give them everything. I have seen, listen. I'm going to say this, and I know someone say, oh, you shouldn't do this. Oh, you shouldn't think this way. No. If I had a choice between being single for the rest of my life versus chasing someone that doesn't want to be with me, and I'm endlessly chasing girls that don't want nothing to do with me, it is going to hurt me. And I'd rather be single. Because guess what? When you're single, you get time to focus on God. You get time to focus on bettering your walk in the Lord, bettering the relationships you have. And when you're doing your own thing, you wind up finding people that might like you. You wind up finding people that might want to be with you, versus doing the popular thing and chasing after girls that want nothing to do with you. And you endlessly chasing a false hope of, oh, well, if I chase enough girls, eventually someone's coming to me. No. You just chill out and do your thing. Just chill out and do your thing. Because then that's when you find someone, from what I've heard. Now again, If I find someone, great. If I don't, great. Because guess what? Chasing a girl is only going to leave me unsatisfied, and more so, it's going to hurt me when you realize that that girl that you've been chasing only wants to be friends. Or that girl that you are friends with, and you think that maybe one day things are going to things are going to work out, and she turns around and she says, oh, we'll just be friends. And you go through the same thing us men go through all of the time, is heartbreak. Why? Because you chased a desire of wanting to be with a girl that doesn't like you like that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Point number 2. Wherever your treasure is, there you will also find someone's heart. And the same thing can be said to you. Wherever your treasure is, there you will also find your heart. Folks, if you're chasing the world, your heart is there too. That is where your heart is. And again, I can't see what's going on here. I have no idea. I can only see the things on the outside. And girls, I'm going to say this, men are not mind readers. We can't tell what's going on here. We can't tell how you feel about us. That's why, as men, we like being direct. And the same thing with the desires of the world. If you're not careful, people will chase the things of this world and you may not even know it. These might be people in your church that you think that are these awesome people that are following God fully. And some of these people are in a rat race trying to chase the world. And you would not have any idea. Because again, I can't see what's going on in here. But guess who can? He knows. God knows what you're dealing with in your heart. And we can't. And the reason why I bring that point up is I see this time and time again where girls will be surprised when a guy can't pick up on what they're doing. And 2, if a guy thinks one way or another, he gets in trouble because he thinks, oh, well, maybe this girl wants to be with me, when in reality she's just being nice. What this is tying into is, again, the desires of the world. The desires are only going to get you temporarily in one place, but eventually, Third point. No matter how much stuff you buy or however many people you know, none of that will ever match what God did for you and I through Christ. I did this Bible study once before about envy. And when you are envious about however much stuff someone has or however many friends someone has, what winds up happening is you take your eyes off of you and what God has given you, and you're so concerned about what other people are doing to where you completely forget about the life that God has given you. Because guess what? That girl that you want may not even like you like that. She might like someone else. And you're going to be heartbroken and hurt by that. But what if there's another girl out there that likes you? What if there's another girl out there that wants to be with you? What if there's another girl out there that desires to be with you? Why not go with that? Why not? Why not go with that? Right? But again, because men are sometimes stupid, we think, oh, well, I got to chase this 10 out of 10 girl or chase this 8 out of 10 girl. Why? If a girl likes you, a girl likes you. If not, oh well. Like, come on. Fourth and final point. Nothing in this world will ever give you salvation for eternity. But the choices you make every day will determine where you go in the afterlife. I see this time and time again on social media. So many people will be at the peak of everything. Or you'll see these musicians that are on top of the world. And you think that, oh man, they've got to be really happy with their lives. And they're not. Why? Because they're endlessly chasing fame. These people that are famous, these people that are rich, these people that are even on social media, all of them run this rat race of chasing fame. Why do you think so many successful people wind up the most miserable when you lose your fame? And I think I heard this somewhere. I think it's from Will Smith or something. And I know Will Smith is not the most trustworthy person, especially now, since what we've been hearing with him and his wife. And the quote goes, when you are at the top of fame, that feels amazing. When you're at a plateau and you're already famous, it's like, yeah, you're okay. But when you lose fame, you are miserable because you're not at the peak of where you are. And folks, it's just like with social media. I'm going to tell you guys this, and girls. I'll give you an insight on how content creators will think sometimes. If, let's say, I make a video and it only gets 50 views and my average is 100, I'm going to be miserable even though 50 people watch what I'm doing. It's the same thing with this Bible study. Used to, if I made a Bible study and only 5 people saw it, I'm like, man, I suck. I can't believe no one would watch this. Versus being grateful that those 5 people took time out of their day to watch your stuff. Same thing with social media. Even if you have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 people that follow you, be grateful that people are taking time out of their day to watch your stuff versus endlessly chasing a number that will never satisfy you. And the reason why you can't chase numbers is those numbers are only going to give you a high for a short amount of time. But eventually, that high is going to wear off and you're going to say, okay, how can I replicate this? And every time you don't get that number again, you're like, oh man, I suck. I'm never going to be famous. I'm never going to do it. And here's the thing. Who cares if you're going to be famous? Who cares? Be proud of the content you're making. Because if you're passionate about something, even if you never get famous for the content you're making, if you're passionate about what you're doing, be proud of that. And don't chase the numbers. Only instead improve your content and ask yourself, what can I do to make people feel like clicking on this video is a good idea? That's what you should be doing. And the reason why I'm giving this point out as a closing point is people that are on social media, I see this, they chase numbers. Don't do that. Don't do that. Be thankful that people actually are taking time out of their day to care about you instead of endlessly chasing a number that will never get you to where you want to be. And again, it's like chasing the world. You can chase the world for however long you want to, but eventually, it's going to bite you in the butt. Because once you die, that choice you made to choose money over choosing God, it's going to bite you in the butt. It's going to, folks. It's going to. You got to be careful. Because when you chase the world, ultimately, you are choosing the world over God. And just like we read in Matthew 6, you cannot serve both God and the world. Because if you do that, all you're going to do is hurt not only yourself, but the people around you, because they're wanting you to follow God. They're wanting you to stop chasing the world. But you won't stop chasing the world, and yet you're surprised when you wind up dying and you wind up not going to heaven because you chose your desires over God. I hate to be blunt, but that's how it is, folks. And with that being said, I'm going to end it here. Thank you all for watching this Bible study. Until next time, I'm Angel Michael, and I will see you all in the next one.